Hello. What am I talking about today? Oh, the Incompetent is actually the world's strongest wizard. Now, you'd think with a title like that it's an isekai, but not really. It's a reincarnation story. Ooh. But you're reincarnated in the same world. Oh. So it's not quite an isekai. You know, I guess maybe I should do an isekai just so I can keep up the streak of doing a million isekais. Yeah, I don't know, before we begin, like, comment, subscribe, blah blah blah, and first off the bat, I'm gonna give you a general rating. You know, the same as all the other videos that you haven't watched, Get to it. No, but yeah, I'm gonna give you a general rating, and then I'll go into a little bit of why I gave it that rating. For this one, I'm contemplating. I'm contemplating here. Between a 5 and a 6. Because it does nothing new. And the art is okay, but I think the delivery of the story is competent and, you know, relatively decent in how it is done. So I feel like, you know, giving it the average 5 is a little bit, you know, it's a little mean. So, you know, I think for being, you know, for the sake of being generous, let's give it a 6. It's decent. All right, why did I give it a 6? Well, okay, well, let's discuss this a bit. So, that guy's the main character. You don't even really need to see him that much. He's plain Jane. Basic idea. He lived his other life, you know, learning magic. He gets reincarnated, keeps all of his abilities and stats from the previous life, but now they're like his base stats in this life. I've seen it before. Not really that unique. I'll say pretty much everything about the main character is not very unique. He barely has a personality. He's just like a vessel to get things moving, pretty much. And a lot of these stories are like that, so I can't necessarily give it that much flack. Like, if I'm comparing this to other stories of its, you know, nature, it's not really that different, you know? The main guy's always kind of plain Jane nothing. So, you know, I can't give it too much flack on that mark, but I can't really give it any credit either. And then I guess you could say this is like the main female lead to a degree, but like, here's the deal. I think within the first 20 chapters, a story should grip you. I think there should be something within the first 20 chapters. Something. Does that, you know, does it have to be fully fleshed out in the first 20 chapters? No. But I do think there should be something that grips you within that time. And I gave this that test. The 20 chapters, did something grip me within that time period? And frankly, no. Nothing did, really. You know, this character is just as, you know, this guy, really nothing. Nothing new. And basically their personality is just, I like magic and I like my village, and, you know, they don't really flesh anything else out. Which, you know, I'd rather something different, you know? Add a little flair to it, if you will. You know, most of the series is kind of just, you know, playing around with the idea that, oh, he's super OP, but he doesn't really understand everything quite yet. Boring. Very played out. I'm not a huge fan of just rehashing the same ideas over and over and over again. You know, I'm not saying, you know, there isn't like a level of comfort food to go along with this stuff, but, you know, at the end of the day, I feel like it's just, there's not much there, right? I mean, like, the basic idea of the story, he gets kicked out of his house because they think he's worthless. For, you know, one of the most used reasons in any manga ever. Oh, he doesn't have a skill or a unique skill. Like, we appraised him and he doesn't have a unique skill. The general idea is he doesn't show up as having a unique skill because his skill is reincarnation, which he had from his previous life, and it doesn't show up until he, you know, reaches 15 or whatever. So basically he leaves the house and then he finds out, oh, I actually did have a skill. And, you know, from there, basically his family is just kind of like, just tossed aside. Like, his brother goes after him, but it's nothing new. It's like the hot-headed older brother that's, like, jealous that his, you know, younger brother had, you know, more talent. And it's like, okay, you know, it's just, it's the same. You know, I've seen it before and I'll see it again. Not getting me anywhere new. And then, you know, he meets this girl, and she's like, oh, I need your help. Okay. And then, basically, after the initial couple chapters, it goes into, you know, your most generic isekai story ever. You know, there's a little tussle at the Adventurers Guild. Wow, there's some mean adventurers there. What a shocker. He sorts that out, goes to the girl's village, and then, oh, you know, her old man is the chief, or whatever. They also call him a lord, but the village... There's a key thing here. When you show, like, when you say someone's a lord, I feel like you have to give scale to their, you know, territory, and they do not do that. The village feels like there's 3 people in it. He does not feel like a lord, and I guess, like, the idea is, like, he's kind of getting away from everything to go to this village or whatever, but still, it just doesn't feel right. Also, like, art-wise, it doesn't really stand out, and to be honest, I'm not, like, a huge fan of the style, really. I think these covers look really nice for some reason. I don't know, I just pulled up a high-res image, so these might be, like, different covers. I didn't actually see this one. But, it's just, you know, nothing stands out. Like, the plot's pretty generic, just him helping out the village. All of the, like, any comedic element is basically just down to him not understanding, like, oh, it's 200 years in the future, and I'm, like, you know, well above the average person nowadays. So he's just, like, doesn't comprehend, like, oh, you know, maybe I have to hold back a little bit. But even that, I feel like there's a massive fault in this story. This character acknowledges at one point that within this world there may be different value systems compared to his world. Like, he's in the same world, but his time, right? So he acknowledges that there may be different value systems when he's about to sell things that he collected in his past life. And then chooses to ignore that, sell the things, find out that he was right, there is a different value system, and then later on chooses to ignore the fact again and show off things that this character, should not have. And he knows at this point that the value system has changed, and that all of his items are significantly more rare, but he still chooses to do that, which I think is insane. If you write in the excuse that he doesn't this guy does not understand the value system, why then do you acknowledge that the value system is problematic and then choose to continue on? That is so silly to me. It's like it's like making a trap for yourself. You have the perfect excuse, right? The perfect excuse is there. It's right there for you. And rather than, you know, taking this excuse, you literally just break the box in half and just say, like, no, I'm not going to use that excuse. It's almost like the author wanted to acknowledge the fact that, like, oh, you know, a character should know that the value system has changed, but then refuses to use that fact and actually make it feel like the main character understands it. So he says that he understands it, but then doesn't. His actions betray what his words say. And it is very frustrating. It's like you make a character seemingly very smart and then acknowledge, hey, this is where I should, you know, be careful. but then choose to ignore it, almost drawing attention to the fault that you just created. It's so silly to me. Like, why would you purposefully acknowledge a fault in your story? It's like, I cannot comprehend that idea. It's like you have a way to get out of it and not have a fault, but you choose to go in it. It's like if there was horse shit on the road, and rather than going around it, you chose to step in it and then tell your friend there's horse shit. Like, you it's literally you're like saying, hey, look, horse shit, and then right in. It's like, why would you do that? It's such an illogical way of telling a story. I don't know if, like, the intent is that he just doesn't think anything through. Like, I really don't understand. And then there's a point where, like, I'm not going to get into spoilers too much here, but let's just say the creature looming in the background isn't always friendly, or there could be conflict. But the way that he gets into that conflict seems so irrational. Like, there's a million other ways that he could have, sorted this out. But instead the way he chose is probably the most, like, just awkward way of doing it. And it seemed like the author was trying to make this seem so deep and moving, but it's like, it just came across as silly. Like, I heard it, I'm like, why? Why would you do that? Why is that the choice you make? I don't know. It's just, a lot of the series is just illogical. It's really trying to not hit tropes. But the only thing it's doing is acknowledging the trope, but then it still hits it. So why do that? Why acknowledge the trope and then still do it? It's like that. What did that net you? What did you gain from that? I don't know. Just very, very, very poor storytelling overall, I would say. I don't know. I want to give it a 6 because, like, there's so many other parts, but now that I'm, like, actually talking about it, I'm getting worse and worse. I'm liking it less and less. I think in enjoyment, yes, I would still give it a 6. But I think if you're really contemplating the story and you really think about what's happening, it's a 4. The story docks at 2 points. Like, it's very illogical. It's like, it's almost it's pointing out holes. It's acknowledging tropes and then continuing to do them anyway, like it just didn't acknowledge it. It's like, why would you do that? So silly. I don't know. I know I'm irrationally upset about this. It's really not that big of a deal, but it's just like, why? Why, like, taint, a good product? Or okay product, I should say. It wouldn't be good even if these weren't in there. But whatever. I digress. I don't want to get on a 20-minute long tangent. The point of this video is just to give my general idea and why I gave it said rating. Overall, yeah, 4. It's if you care about story, I wouldn't recommend it. If you don't really care about story and you just want comfort food, then it's like a 6 for you. I like to give, like, a different ratings from different perspectives because I think it kind of helps you get, like, an idea of, like, where you might stand. But I think if you care about story, it's not that good. But yeah, I mean, like, comment, subscribe, maybe leave a comment about another story you want me to read, and I'll see ya.